Sarah Chen floated in the observation deck of the diplomatic station, watching the alien ship approach through the transparent aluminum windows. Her heart raced as she saw the vessel for the first time in person. The Zilani ship looked like a giant crystal flower, its petals made of some unknown material that shifted between blue and silver in the starlight. "They're beautiful," whispered Dr. Martinez, the head scientist on the human delegation. He stood beside Sarah, his tablet recording everything for the history books. Sarah nodded, but tried to keep her excitement in check. As Earth's top ambassador, she had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. First contact with an alien species, the Zilani had sent peaceful signals to Earth 18 months ago, and after careful exchanges of mathematical concepts and basic language, they had agreed to meet here in neutral space. The diplomatic station had been built specifically for this meeting. It sat at the edge of the solar system, far from Earth, but close enough for human ships to reach quickly. The station was shaped like a wheel, with sections designed to accommodate both human and Zilani needs. Scientists had worked day and night to create spaces where both species could be comfortable. "Ambassador Chen, they're requesting permission to dock," came the voice of Captain Williams from the command center. Sarah touched her communication device. "Permission granted, Captain. Direct them to docking bay 3 as planned." Around her, the human delegation prepared for the historic meeting. There were 12 humans on the station: diplomats, scientists, doctors, and security personnel. They had practiced this moment hundreds of times, but nothing could really prepare them for meeting beings from another world. The Zilani ship docked with a soft vibration that ran through the station. Sarah watched through the monitors as the alien vessel extended what looked like a glass tube to connect with the station's airlock. The tube filled with a soft, breathable atmosphere that both species could share. "Atmospheric readings are good," reported Dr. Martinez. "The air mix they're using is safe for us, and ours should be fine for them." Sarah straightened her blue diplomatic uniform and checked her translator device one more time. The Zilani had sent language samples, and Earth's computers had created translation programs. But there was always a risk of misunderstanding. The first Zilani stepped through the airlock, and Sarah felt her breath catch. The being was tall and graceful, standing about 7 feet high. Its body was humanoid but seemed to be made of living crystal. Light moved through its transparent skin in patterns that reminded Sarah of flowing water. The Zilani's head was elongated with large eyes that sparkled like diamonds. "I am Harmony Singer Veilth," the being said, its voice musical and strange. The translator device converted the sounds into English, though Sarah could hear the alien tones underneath. "I speak for my people in this meeting of worlds." Sarah stepped forward, feeling the weight of representing all humanity. "I am Ambassador Sarah Chen of Earth. On behalf of my species, I welcome you in peace and friendship." Veilth's crystalline body flashed with soft blue light, which Sarah hoped was a positive response. The being moved with fluid grace, each step seeming to flow into the next. 2 other Zilani followed behind, their bodies also shifting with different colors and patterns of light. "Your species creates beauty and sound," Veilth said, gesturing to a small device one of the other Zilani carried. "We have listened to your music transmissions. We find them moving." Dr. Martinez stepped forward with a carefully prepared gift. It was a small music player containing samples of human music from around the world. Classical, jazz, rock, folk songs from every continent. "This is for you, from our people to yours." The Zilani who received the gift held it carefully, and lights danced under its skin. Sarah realized the beings might communicate through these light patterns as much as through sound. "We too have brought gifts," Veilth said. The third Zilani presented a crystal sculpture that seemed to sing with soft, harmonic tones. "This is a memory crystal. It holds the story of our journey to your system, told in light and sound." Sarah accepted the gift with both hands, amazed by its beauty. The crystal was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse with gentle energy. They moved to the main conference room, a circular space with a large table designed to accommodate both species. The walls showed images of Earth and what Sarah assumed was the Zilani homeworld, a planet with crystal cities that reached toward purple skies. "Your world is beautiful," Sarah said. Looking at the images, Veilth's lights dimmed slightly. "Was beautiful. We are travelers now seeking new homes among the stars." Sarah felt a pang of sadness. She had assumed the Zilani were explorers like humans, but it seemed they were refugees. What happened to your home? Time and change, Veilth replied. Our son grew old. We built ships and learned to live among the stars. For many cycles we have traveled, searching for worlds where we might settle. Dr. Martinez leaned forward with interest. How many of your people are there? Few, Veilth said simply. We are careful in our travels. We have learned that not all species welcome strangers. Sarah nodded, understanding the caution. Humanity had often feared what they didn't understand. We hope to change that. Earth has resources and empty worlds in our system. Perhaps we can help each other. The lights under Veilth's skin brightened. This is why we came. Your species sends signals of art and music into space. We hear peace in these transmissions. We hope for friendship. Over the next several hours, they discussed basic concepts of trade and cooperation. The Zilani had advanced technology in areas where humans struggled, particularly in energy generation and space travel. Humans had agricultural knowledge and manufacturing techniques that interested the aliens. Your species grows food in soil, Veilth observed. We have forgotten this skill in our travels. We would learn from you, Sarah smiled, and we would learn your methods of traveling between stars. Together we might explore the galaxy. The meeting felt like a dream come true. Both species had so much to offer each other. The Zilani were peaceful, intelligent, and eager to share knowledge. They spoke of art, music, and philosophy as much as technology. As the day progressed, Sarah began to relax. The fears that many humans had expressed seemed foolish now. These beings were not conquerors or threats. They were refugees looking for friendship and a place to call home. Tomorrow we will sign a preliminary agreement, Sarah announced as the session wound down. The first step toward friendship between our peoples. Veilth's entire body glowed with warm light. We are grateful for this chance. Long have we traveled in loneliness. To find friends among the stars is a gift beyond measure. Sarah felt tears in her eyes. This was why she had become a diplomat. To build bridges between peoples. To create understanding where there had been fear. History would remember this day as the moment humanity joined the greater community of spacefaring species. The Zilani returned to their ship for the night. Planning to return in the morning for the signing ceremony, Sarah watched their crystal ship drift gracefully away from the station, its hull glowing softly in the starlight. Tomorrow changes everything, Dr. Martinez said beside her. Sarah nodded, looking out at the stars with new hope. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had found friends among the endless night, beings who valued peace and beauty as much as humans did. She had no idea that hidden in the darkness beyond the station, something watched and waited, something that would shatter this perfect moment and change the course of history forever. The morning of the signing ceremony began with perfect calm. Sarah Chen woke early in her quarters aboard the diplomatic station, reviewing her notes one final time. Today would mark the official beginning of friendship between humans and the Zilani. She felt the weight of history on her shoulders, but also excitement for what this partnership could bring. The Zilani ship approached the station right on schedule. Sarah watched from the observation deck as the crystal vessel performed the same graceful docking procedure as the day before. Everything seemed exactly as it should be. They're punctual, Captain Williams noted with approval. I respect that in any species. Sarah smiled and made her way to the main conference room. The human delegation was already assembled, along with several journalists who had been allowed to document this historic moment. The signing would be broadcast live to Earth, where billions of people waited to witness first contact. Harmony singer Veilth entered the room with the same fluid grace as before, followed by the other two Zilani delegates. Their crystalline bodies caught the light beautifully, and Sarah noticed that their internal light patterns seemed brighter today, perhaps indicating excitement or joy. Today brings new hope to both our peoples, Veilth said, the translator device converting the musical alien words into clear English. Sarah nodded, feeling the same optimism. They had spent hours the previous day working out the details of a preliminary friendship agreement. It wasn't a full treaty yet, but it established basic principles of peaceful cooperation and set up framework for future negotiations. The document itself was a work of art, human. Scribes had created a version in elegant handwriting on real paper, while the Zilani had prepared their copy on a crystal tablet that glowed with soft internal light. Both versions said the same thing in their respective languages. Shall we begin? Sarah asked, gesturing to the ceremonial table where the documents waited. Veilth moved forward, its body radiating warm colors. The other Zilani flanked their leader, their own light patterns seeming to dance in harmony. Sarah took her position across from them, with Dr. Martinez and the other human delegates arranged behind her. The journalists activated their cameras. On Earth, Sarah knew that crowds were gathering in public squares to watch history being made. This moment would be remembered forever as the day humanity joined the galactic community. Sarah picked up the ceremonial pen, a specially crafted instrument made from metals found in Earth's moon. She began to sign her name with careful, deliberate strokes. Across from her, Veilth extended one crystalline finger toward their own document. That was when everything went wrong. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red, and Captain Williams's voice crackled over the communication system with barely controlled panic. All personnel, we have an unidentified contact. Large vessel decloaking at grid reference 77 Alpha. Sarah's pen froze halfway through her signature. Around the table, both human and Zilani delegates looked up in confusion and growing alarm. The Zilani's light patterns shifted from warm colors to rapid, flickering patterns that somehow conveyed distress. What's happening? Dr. Martinez demanded, rushing to a wall monitor. The screen flickered to life, showing the external view from the station's cameras. In the distance, something impossible was occurring. What had appeared to be a small asteroid for the past several days was changing. Panels of dark material were sliding away, revealing metal underneath. The object was growing larger, unfolding like a mechanical flower. "Dear God," whispered one of the journalists. "That's not an asteroid." The transformation took less than 30 seconds. When it was complete, a massive human warship hung in space where the innocent rock had been. The vessel was enormous, easily twice the size of the diplomatic station. Weapons pods extended from its hull like thorns, and its armor plating gleamed with military precision. Sarah stared at the screen in horror. She recognized the ship's design from classified military briefings. It was the UES Retribution, one of Earth's newest and most powerful warships, but it wasn't supposed to be here. The diplomatic mission had been specifically designed to be peaceful, with no military presence. Across the table, the Zilani were backing away from the signing documents. Their light patterns had shifted to rapid pulses of orange and red. Even without understanding their full language, Sarah could tell they were afraid and angry. "Deception," Veilth said, the word coming out as a sharp, discordant sound that the translator struggled to process. "You bring weapons to a meeting of peace." "No." Sarah stood up quickly, raising her hands. "I don't understand this. The warship wasn't supposed to be here. This isn't part of our plan." But even as she spoke, she could see the suspicion growing in the Zilani's diamond-like eyes. From their perspective, it must look like a carefully planned trap. Invite the aliens to a peaceful meeting, then reveal hidden weapons once they were in position. Captain Williams' voice came over the comm again. "The warship is hailing us. Admiral Marcus Thorne is requesting immediate communication with Ambassador Chen." Sarah's heart sank. Admiral Thorne was known throughout Earth's military as a hardliner who opposed the peaceful First Contact mission. He had publicly stated that humanity should approach aliens from a position of strength, not trust. "Ambassador," Veilth said, its voice taking on a colder tone. "Explain this betrayal." "There is no betrayal," Sarah insisted desperately. "I had no knowledge of that ship. Please let me find out what's happening." She activated her communication device. "Admiral Thorne, this is Ambassador Chen. What is the meaning of this?" "You're endangering the diplomatic mission." Thorne's voice came through clearly, broadcasted to the entire room. "Ambassador, my orders were to protect Earth's interests. I've been monitoring this situation, and I've determined that these aliens pose a potential threat to humanity." Sarah felt the blood drain from her face. "Admiral, you have no authority here. This is a diplomatic zone under civilian control." "I have every authority under Emergency Protocol 7, Thorne replied coldly. "Any first contact situation that could threaten Earth's security falls under military jurisdiction. I've been watching these aliens, and their technology is far too advanced. They could destroy our civilization if they chose to." Around the table, the Zilani were speaking rapidly among themselves in their musical language. Their light patterns were becoming more agitated, shifting through colors that somehow conveyed alarm and preparation for danger. Veilth turned back to Sarah, its body now glowing with harsh white light. "Your words speak peace, but your actions reveal war. We have seen this before. Species that smile while hiding weapons. Please, Sarah begged. This isn't what we planned. Admiral Thorne is acting without authorization. Earth's government wants peace with your people. But it was too late. Vailth was already moving toward the exit, followed by the other Zilani delegates. Their graceful movements had become quick and urgent. We return to our ships, Vailth announced. This meeting is ended. We will not be victims of another deception. Sarah watched helplessly as the Zilani left the room. Through the monitors, she could see their crystal ship beginning to undock from the station. Other shapes appeared on the sensors. More Zilani vessels emerging from what must have been their own hidden positions. Admiral, she spoke into her communicator, her voice shaking with anger. You've just destroyed humanity's first chance at peaceful contact with an alien species. Thorne's response was unrepentant. I've protected humanity from a potential threat. These aliens were clearly planning something. Why else would they hide additional ships in the area? Sarah realized with growing horror that both sides had been keeping secrets. The humans had hidden a warship, and the Zilani had apparently hidden additional vessels as well. What had started as a peaceful meeting was rapidly becoming a standoff between two armed fleets. The signing ceremony was forgotten. The beautiful documents lay unsigned on the table, symbols of hope that had been shattered in mere minutes. The journalists were broadcasting frantically to Earth, sending images of the crisis to a shocked world. Sarah slumped into her chair, watching the Zilani ship retreat to join their hidden fleet. Months of careful diplomacy had been destroyed in seconds by fear and mistrust. The aliens had come seeking friendship and found deception instead. The dream of peaceful first contact was over before it had truly begun. The situation spiraled out of control within minutes of the Zilani retreat. Sarah Chen stood in the station's command center, watching in growing horror as both fleets maneuvered into aggressive positions. What had been a peaceful diplomatic meeting was becoming a military standoff that could lead to the first interstellar war in human history. Admiral Thorne is powering up weapon systems, Captain Williams reported, his face pale as he monitored the readings from the UES Retribution. He's also launching fighter squadrons. Sarah grabbed the communication console. Admiral, stand down immediately. You're escalating a situation that can still be resolved peacefully. Thorne's voice came back cold and determined. Ambassador, with respect, you're no longer in command of this situation. These aliens have revealed additional ships and are taking defensive positions. Their intentions are clearly hostile. Through the main view screen, Sarah could see the truth was more complicated. The Zilani ships had indeed appeared from hiding, but they seemed to be trying to protect their diplomatic vessel rather than attack. Their formation was defensive, creating a barrier between their leadership and the human warship. Dr. Martinez studied the scanner readings with growing concern. Sarah, we're detecting massive energy buildups from both fleets. If someone fires a shot, this could turn into a battle very quickly. Sarah tried one more time to reach Harmony Singer Vailth directly. The communication channel crackled with interference, but eventually the Zilani leader's musical voice came through the translator. Ambassador Chen, Vailth said, its tone now formal and distant. We trusted your words of peace. We see now that your species speaks with two voices. We will defend ourselves. Vailth, please listen to me, Sarah pleaded. The warship wasn't part of our diplomatic mission. Admiral Thorne acted without government authorization. Earth's leaders still want peace with your people. There was a long pause before Vailth responded. Your explanation may be truth, but the weapons pointed at us are also truth. We have learned hard lessons about species that hide their strength until the moment of betrayal. The channel went silent. Sarah realized that the Zilani had experienced something like this before. The way Vailth spoke suggested they had been deceived by another species in the past, perhaps with tragic results. Captain Williams suddenly looked up from his sensor station, his face grim. Ambassador, we're picking up additional contacts. Long-range sensors show more ships jumping into the system. Zilani reinforcements. The main screen updated to show the new arrivals. 3 more Zilani vessels had appeared at the edge of the system. But these ships looked different from the graceful crystal craft they had seen before. These vessels were darker, more angular, with an ominous presence that even Sarah could feel through the cold vacuum of space. Admiral Thorne is hailing the station again, Captain Williams reported. Sarah reluctantly opened the channel. What is it, Admiral? Those new ships are military vessels, Thorne announced. My sensors indicate they're carrying weapons far more advanced than anything in our fleet. This proves the aliens were planning an attack all along. Sarah studied the scanner readings herself. The Admiral wasn't entirely wrong. The New Zilani ships did appear to be warships, and their technology readings were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. But she still believed there had to be an explanation that didn't involve conquest. They're being defensive, she argued. You revealed a hidden warship and powered up weapons. Of course they called for protection. Her words were interrupted by alarms throughout the station. Captain Williams shouted over the noise. Multiple launches from both fleets. Fighters and what look like scout ships are deploying. Through the view screen, Sarah watched in fascination and terror as the space around the diplomatic station filled with smaller vessels. Human fighters streaked past in tight formations, their sleek designs built for speed and maneuverability. The Zilani deployed craft that looked more like flying crystals, moving with impossible grace through the vacuum. No one's fired shots yet, Dr. Martinez observed, clinging to hope. Maybe this is just positioning. His optimism lasted only seconds. One of the human fighters, apparently spooked by a Zilani scout that came too close, fired a warning shot across the alien craft's path. The energy beam missed, but the Zilani pilot interpreted it as an attack and responded with its own weapons. The Zilani beam struck the human fighter's shield, causing it to spin out of control. The pilot, thinking he was under attack, fired back directly at the Zilani craft. This time the shot connected, and the crystal-like ship shattered in a brilliant explosion of light. First blood, Captain Williams whispered. The death of the Zilani pilot triggered an immediate response. The remaining Zilani fighters moved aggressively toward the human squadrons, while Admiral Thorne's voice boomed over all frequencies. All human vessels, we are under attack. Engage hostile targets, no! Sarah screamed, but it was too late. The space around the diplomatic station erupted into battle. Human fighters swarmed toward the Zilani craft, their weapons blazing. The aliens responded with beam weapons that cut through space like swords of light. Ships on both sides began exploding as the skirmish escalated into full combat. The diplomatic station shook as stray shots impacted its shields. Captain Williams was frantically trying to keep them out of the line of fire. But the battle was happening all around them. We need to evacuate the station, he announced. This position isn't safe. Sarah grabbed the communication console one last time. All ships, all commanders, this is Ambassador Chen. Cease fire immediately. This is a diplomatic zone. But her words were lost in the chaos of battle. Both sides were convinced the other had fired first, and now ancient instincts of fight or flight had taken over. The careful work of months was being destroyed in minutes of violence. Dr. Martinez was monitoring the communications between both fleets. Sarah, you need to hear this. The Zilani are transmitting something in their own language. Our computers are trying to translate it. The translation came through moments later, and Sarah's heart sank as she read the words. Call the purifiers. The peace speakers have failed. Initiate Protocol 7. What are purifiers? Captain Williams asked. Before anyone could answer, the sensors detected something new. From the direction of the dark Zilani warship, something was launching. The objects were small but moved with purpose toward the human fleet. Admiral Thorne, you have incoming projectiles, Captain Williams warned over the military channel. Thorne's response was confident. Roger that, station. Our point defense systems will handle whatever they're throwing at us. But as the objects approached the human ships, they began to change. Each projectile unfolded like a mechanical flower, revealing complex machinery inside. They didn't seem to be weapons in any conventional sense. The first one reached a human destroyer. Instead of exploding, it attached itself to the ship's hull and began to spread like metallic ivy. Within seconds, the destroyer's weapons went offline, then its engines, then life support. What the hell? Thorne's voice was filled with shock and growing fear. More of the devices reached other human ships. Each one disabled its target without destroying it, but left the crew helpless and drifting in space. The human fleet, which had seemed so powerful just minutes before, was being systematically neutralized by technology they didn't understand. Sarah realized with growing horror that humanity had stumbled into a conflict they were completely unprepared for. The Zilani weren't just refugees with advanced technology. They were survivors of something terrible, and they had learned to defend themselves with weapons beyond human comprehension. The peaceful first contact that was supposed to mark humanity's entry into the galactic community had become a disaster that might and their spacefaring dreams forever. And worst of all, Sarah was beginning to understand that both sides had acted out of fear and past trauma, creating a tragedy that no one had really wanted. The battle turned into a nightmare that neither side had expected. Sarah Chen watched helplessly from the diplomatic station as the space around them filled with disabled human ships and the strange, powerful technology of the Zilani purifiers. What had started as a skirmish between fighters was becoming a one-sided massacre. "Half our fleet is offline," Captain Williams reported, his voice shaking. "Those devices the aliens are using don't destroy ships, but they shut down everything. Power, weapons, life support, everything." Admiral Thorne's voice came over the communication system, no longer confident but filled with desperate anger. "All remaining ships target those alien warships directly. We need to stop them from launching more of those things." Sarah grabbed the communication console. "Admiral, you're making this worse. Stand down and let me try to negotiate." "Negotiate?" Thorne's laugh was bitter. "Ambassador, they're destroying our fleet. This is exactly what I warned would happen. These aliens never intended peace. They were planning to attack us all along." Through the main view screen, Sarah could see the truth was more complex. The Zilani purifiers were indeed overwhelming the human fleet, but they weren't killing anyone. The disabled human ships were being left alone, their crews alive but helpless. It was almost like the aliens were trying to end the fight without unnecessary death. Dr. Martinez was studying the sensor readings with growing amazement. "Sarah, these purifier devices are incredible. They're not weapons in any sense we understand. They seem to be some kind of technology that just turns off other technology. How is that possible?" Sarah asked. "I don't know, but it's working. They're disabling our ships faster than we can fight back." The battle might have ended there, with humanity defeated but alive, if not for what happened next. One of the damaged human fighters, its pilot wounded and disoriented, came spinning out of control toward the diplomatic station. Its engines were firing randomly and its course was erratic. "Incoming fighter," Captain Williams shouted.
"It's going to hit us!"
Sarah watched in horror as the crippled fighter slammed into the station's docking bay. The explosion tore through the civilian areas where the journalists and support staff had been taking shelter. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the station as atmosphere rushed out through the breached hull. "Medical teams to Docking Bay 3, Captain Williams ordered. "We have casualties." The collision killed 17 people instantly, including 3 of the journalists who had come to document humanity's peaceful first contact. Sarah felt sick as she watched the rescue teams trying to reach the survivors trapped in the damaged sections. From his flagship, Admiral Thorne's voice came over the communication system with rage and grief. "They've attacked the civilian station. All ships, this is now a fight for survival." "No," Sarah screamed. "It was an accident. Our own fighter hit the station." But Thorne wasn't listening anymore. The death of civilians had pushed him over the edge. The remaining human ships opened fire directly on the Zilani vessels, no longer caring about tactics or survival. It was a desperate, furious assault driven by grief and anger. The Zilani response was swift and overwhelming. The dark warships that had been holding back now moved forward, revealing weapons that humanity had never imagined. Beams of energy that seemed to bend space itself lanced out toward the human fleet. When they struck, the targeted ships didn't just shut down. They began to come apart at the molecular level. "Dear God," Dr. Martinez whispered, watching through the sensors as a human cruiser simply dissolved into its component atoms. "What kind of weapons are those?" Sarah realized with growing terror that the Zilani had been holding back before. The purifiers had been a gentle response, designed to stop the fighting without loss of life. But now that they believed the humans had deliberately attacked civilians, they were using their real weapons. The UES Retribution, Admiral Thorne's flagship, tried to retreat, but found itself surrounded by the impossible Zilani technology. The alien ships moved through space in ways that defied physics, appearing and disappearing, striking from angles that shouldn't have been possible. "This is Admiral Thorne," came the final transmission from the flagship. "If anyone receives this message, tell Earth that we tried. Tell them the aliens are too powerful. Tell them to run." The Retribution vanished in a flash of light that outshone the nearby star for several seconds. When it faded, there was nothing left but empty space and scattered atoms. Sarah collapsed into her chair, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the disaster. The human fleet was destroyed or disabled. The diplomatic station was badly damaged. And worst of all, first contact between two species had become first blood, with no hope of redemption. But the tragedy wasn't over yet. As Sarah watched the aftermath of the battle, Captain Williams made a discovery that changed everything. "Ambassador," he said quietly, "I'm picking up transmissions from the Zilani fleet. Our computers have been working on their language all day and we're getting better translations now." Sarah looked up wearily. "What are they saying?" Williams' face was pale as he read from his screen. "They're not celebrating victory. They're mourning. They're transmitting what appears to be funeral songs." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. Funeral songs? For who? According to the translation, they're mourning the death of hope. But there's more, Ambassador. We're also picking up historical data that they're sharing among their fleet. It's about their homeworld. Dr. Martinez joined them at the communication station. What about their homeworld? Williams hesitated before continuing. It wasn't destroyed by an aging sun like they told us. It was destroyed by another species. A species that made peaceful contact with them, just like we did today. Sarah's blood ran cold. What happened? The other species came in peace, signed treaties, exchanged gifts and knowledge. The Zilani welcomed them, shared their technology, even allowed them to establish colonies on Zilani worlds. And then, when the aliens had learned everything they needed, they attacked. They used the Zilani's own technology against them and wiped out 99% of their population. The pieces fell into place with horrible clarity. The Zilani weren't explorers or conquerors. They were the last survivors of their species, refugees who had learned the hard way that peaceful first contact could be a trap. When Admiral Thorne revealed the hidden warship, it must have looked exactly like the betrayal that had destroyed their civilization. "How many Zilani are left?" Sarah asked quietly. Williams checked the translated data. "According to this, their entire species fits into about 20 ships. There are maybe 10,000 of them left in the entire universe." Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. Humanity had just made war on the survivors of a genocide. The Zilani had come looking for friends and found what they believed was another species planning to deceive and destroy them. The worst part was that both sides had acted from fear and past trauma. Admiral Thorne had been afraid of alien technology and the threat to Earth. The Zilani had been afraid of another betrayal like the one that had destroyed their world. Neither side had wanted war, but fear had made it inevitable. As Sarah watched through the view screen, the surviving Zilani ships began to retreat toward the edge of the system. Their graceful crystal vessels moved away from the wreckage of the human fleet, carrying the last members of their species back into the darkness between stars. Harmony singer Valeth sent one final message to the diplomatic station. The translation was simple and heartbreaking. "We should have known. The universe has no place for trust. We will not make this mistake again." Sarah tried to respond, tried to explain that it had all been a misunderstanding, but the communication channel went dead. The Zilani ships disappeared into hyperspace, taking with them humanity's first and perhaps last chance at peaceful contact with another species. The diplomatic station drifted alone in space, damaged and surrounded by the wreckage of human ships. On Earth, billions of people had watched the disaster unfold on live television, seeing their dreams of joining a galactic community destroyed in a matter of hours. Sarah looked out at the stars and wondered if the Zilani would ever trust again, or if humanity's first contact had doomed both species to eternal loneliness among the stars. 3 months after the disaster at the diplomatic station, Sarah Chen sat in a sterile hearing room deep within the United Nations building in New York. The inquiry into humanity's first contact failure had been going on for weeks, and today was her final testimony. Outside the reinforced windows, protesters gathered daily, some calling for her resignation, others demanding justice for the dead. The hearing room was filled with representatives from every major nation on Earth. The panel of judges included military leaders, diplomats, scientists, and civilian officials. At the center of it all sat Admiral Marcus Thorne, the man whose hidden warship had triggered the cascade of events that destroyed humanity's first chance at peaceful alien contact. "Ambassador Chen," said the lead judge, "Secretary General Martinez, no relation to Dr. Martinez, who had died in the station's destruction. You have had time to review all the evidence. In your final statement, please tell this inquiry what you believe went wrong." Sarah stood slowly, feeling the weight of the entire world watching her. The events at the diplomatic station had been broadcast live across Earth, and every human being had witnessed the failure in real time. The aftermath had been just as public. Disabled human ships limping home. The casualty reports, the complete disappearance of the Zilani fleet. Secretary General, honored members of the inquiry, Sarah began, her voice steady despite the emotions churning inside her. What went wrong was simple. We let fear override hope. We let past traumas dictate present actions. And in doing so, we created the very disaster we were trying to prevent. She gestured toward Admiral Thorne, who sat ramrod straight in his uniform, showing no emotion despite facing court-martial. Admiral Thorne acted according to military protocols that assumed any alien contact would be a threat. His hidden warship was meant to protect humanity. But instead it convinced the Zilani that we were planning to betray them. The Zilani also hid ships, interrupted General Harrison, the chief military representative. They were just as deceptive as we were. Sarah shook her head. No, General. The difference is motivation. We hid a warship because we assumed the aliens might attack us. They hid defensive ships because they had already been attacked before. They had already lived through exactly what Admiral Thorne was afraid might happen. She activated the holographic display at the center of the room, showing the translated Zilani historical records that had been recovered from the battle site. The images showed a beautiful world with crystal cities and floating gardens, then scenes of destruction as another alien species turned on their Zilani hosts. The Zilani homeworld was destroyed 300 years ago by a species called the HFY, Sarah explained. The HFY made peaceful contact, signed treaties, exchanged technology and cultural knowledge. The Zilani welcomed them with open arms, just as they tried to welcome us. The hologram showed scenes of cooperation between the two alien species, then sudden betrayal as HFY fleets attacked Zilani cities using weapons based on stolen Zilani technology. The HFY used the Zilani's own advances against them, Sarah continued. They learned about Zilani defensive systems during the peaceful period, then designed weapons specifically to counter them. In 6 months, they wiped out billions of Zilani and claimed their worlds. Secretary General Martinez leaned forward. How many Zilani survived? According to the records we translated, fewer than 10,000. Their entire civilization, their entire species, reduced to a handful of refugee ships wandering the galaxy. Sarah's voice broke slightly. And we made them relive their worst nightmare. Admiral Thorne finally spoke, his voice hard and unrepentant. Ambassador, with respect, the Zilani proved my point. When the shooting started, they had weapons that could destroy our entire fleet. No peaceful species needs that kind of military power. Sarah turned to face him directly. Admiral, they had those weapons because they needed them to survive. They've been wandering space for 3 centuries, meeting other species who might be hostile. Of course they developed defenses. But did you notice what they used first? She brought up tactical data from the battle. The purifiers didn't kill anyone, Admiral. Those devices could have destroyed our ships completely. But instead they just disabled them. Even when they thought we were attacking them, their first response was to stop the fighting without causing deaths. Until the station was hit, Thorne countered, by our own fighter. Sarah's composure cracked for a moment. That collision was an accident, but they interpreted it as a deliberate attack on civilians. Just like you interpreted their defensive ships as proof of hostile intent. Both sides saw what they expected to see. Dr. Lisa Park, the chief scientist on the inquiry panel, spoke up. Ambassador, what happened to the Zilani after the battle? Do we have any idea where they went? Sarah's shoulders slumped. They disappeared completely. We've been monitoring all our deep space sensors for 3 months. No trace of them anywhere in human space. It's as if they simply vanished into the void. She brought up star charts showing the vast emptiness of interstellar space. They're out there somewhere, but they could be anywhere. The galaxy is huge and they have technology far beyond ours. If they don't want to be found, we'll never find them. Perhaps that's for the best, suggested General Harrison. Given their advanced weapons, maybe it's better that they're gone. Sarah stared at him in disbelief. General, we just destroyed the last chance for an entire species to find a new home. We took beings who had survived genocide and convinced them that the universe holds no hope for peace. How is that for the best? She turned back to the panel, her voice growing passionate. Do you understand what we lost? The Zilani had technology that could have solved Earth's energy crisis. They had medical knowledge that could have extended human lifespan. They had art and music and philosophy developed over thousands of years of civilization, and they were willing to share all of it with us. The room fell silent as the full weight of the loss settled over everyone present. It wasn't just about making alien friends. It was about all the knowledge and wonders that humanity would never see because of fear and mistrust. Secretary General, Martinez asked the question that everyone was thinking. Ambassador, in your professional opinion, will we ever get another chance? Will the Zilani ever trust humanity again? Sarah was quiet for a long moment, thinking about Harmony Singer Veilth and the pain she had seen in those crystalline features. I don't know, Secretary General. If I were them, if my species had been nearly wiped out by treachery and then experienced what they see as treachery again, I might decide that the universe is too dangerous for trust. She brought up the final message the Zilani had sent before disappearing. The translated words hung in the air like a condemnation. We should have known. The universe has no place for trust. We will not make this mistake again. That message suggests they've given up on finding allies, Sarah continued. They may withdraw completely from contact with other species. And if they do, we'll never see them again. Their ships are faster than ours, their technology more advanced. They could hide in the space between galaxies and we'd never know. Admiral Thorne stood up suddenly. Maybe that's the lesson here. Maybe peaceful first contact is impossible. Maybe any species advanced enough for interstellar travel is too dangerous to trust. Sarah felt anger flare in her chest. Admiral, that kind of thinking is exactly what caused this disaster. The Kethvar probably told themselves the same thing when they decided to attack the Zilani. Fear of the other, assumption of hostility, the belief that strength matters more than trust. She faced the entire panel, her voice ringing with conviction. If humanity is going to survive in a galaxy full of other species, we have to learn to do better. We have to find a way to approach contact with hope instead of fear. Otherwise, we'll either be destroyed by someone stronger or become destroyers ourselves. The hearing concluded with no clear answers, only the weight of failure and lost opportunity. Admiral Thorne was court-martialed and stripped of rank, but that didn't bring back the dead or undo the damage to human-alien relations. In the months that followed, Sarah resigned from the diplomatic corps and dedicated herself to writing a comprehensive report on first contact protocols. Her recommendations were simple: complete transparency, no hidden military assets, and cultural exchange before political negotiations. Whether humanity would follow these guidelines if they ever got another chance remained to be seen. Sarah often found herself looking up at the night sky, wondering where the Zilani had gone. Were they still wandering between the stars, carrying the memory of another species that had disappointed them? Had they found some distant corner of the galaxy where they could live in peace, never trusting outsiders again? Sometimes she imagined receiving a message from them, a second chance to prove that not all species were destined to be enemies. But as the years passed and no signal came, Sarah began to accept that humanity's first contact had also been its last. The Zilani were gone, taking with them not just their advanced technology and ancient wisdom, but something more precious: the possibility that different species could meet among the stars and choose cooperation over conquest.